Hello, my family community. You've heard me talk a lot about homesteading or growing your own vegetables, and we see that quite often all over YouTube. There's many videos about how to grow the varieties. I mean, there's just so much information about growing, all the way even through homesteading, about growing our own vegetables. I'm going to take this a step further as to why and actually how important it could be to many of us. And I'm going to actually use the store-bought tomato as my featured guest, I guess you would say. So I'm going to start with the fertilizing. A lot of us home growers or homesteaders, all of us, we use what's considered organic material, whether it be compost or we use material from chickens or cows and stuff like these. These are organic matters. And then we have, and I'm going to do a comparison between homegrown and store-bought. A lot of people really don't know this, and it took me a while. I honestly, until I started growing my own, becoming a homesteader, I didn't really know all this myself. So when I started understanding, I I basically decided to make these choices for so many reasons, and actually to even improve our own health. This store-bought tomato goes through an awful lot, and in some sense of it, a lot of it makes sense, honestly. So versus homegrown versus store-bought, started out with the material used in our soils. And in store-bought, they have to use synthetic materials. And the reason for that is because if you think about every store in the United States, that is a mass production. And it makes sense that the fact is synthetics would provide that. It would also provide bigger yields. But in doing so, there's a lot of lack. And I am actually going to challenge you this spring and summer to just even once grow one tomato plant if you have to. But I want to challenge you for that because I want you to take a taste test. I want you to take that homegrown tomato versus your store-bought tomato, and I want you to see if you can taste the difference between the two. And as I go further along, it'll help you understand what I'm talking about and help you understand, hopefully, the difference between the two. Using synthetics, like I said, will produce mass productions, and knowing every store around the United States, it definitely makes sense as to why that has to happen. But in the process of doing so, there's also, and when I say process, there is a process. When we look at our vegetables, for one, when we plant our seed in the spring and then we wait till our harvest, we find that really the cost is so much less than if you were to go to the grocery store. Now, I'll start on the cost and the reason why. With the cost from the grocery store, you have shipping rates. And being on the side of truck drivers, that helps me understand is those drivers need paid for. There's brokers, there's so much involved within the shipping costs. So those costs reflect into our prices. Then you've got the materials that the commercials use, the synthetic fertilizers, and all of the time that they, put into their fields. All of this adds up, and in the very end of it, it is the price that we paid for that vegetable at the grocery store. Unlike us at home, we can plant our seed and take our time. We don't have all that into our gardens to be able to walk out our back door, snip our vegetable, and put it on our table. Therefore, basically, we paid the cost of a seed. And in with that seed packet, we get more than one. So we benefit highly in cost just to grow our own. Then there's the flavor balance. Now, in the homegrown versus the store-bought, there is a big difference in that, and there's a reason for it. In the homegrown, there is a basically long maturity time for us to start from that plant as a baby, from the seed, to the time it matures to where we pick it off the vine. Now, that takes quite a bit of time, but we also wait until it's that beautiful form, or such as a tomato. And I'm going to use this. I use this tomato for a very, very good reason, because it explains better. Now, if you will compare the coloring from the time that we wait till our plant is mature enough to start picking our tomatoes, you will find most generally that our tomatoes are a lot darker than you can get at the grocery store. The reason for that, these are picked early, and most likely they are picked green. It would allow the shippers to get these tomatoes to the store, but they also use a process called ethylene gas. And the ethylene gas during the shipping process allows that green tomato to ripen as it's traveling. So, and when you think about that, if you go to the grocery store, and I'll tell you this one here, they are very firm. And if you were to take the store-bought tomato versus the one that you were homegrown, look at the color profile. You will most generally find that a tomato bought at the store is a lot paler than the one that you picked off your vine. Then there's also a process of deterioration. Now, when I speak about that is the moment these vegetables are pulled off the vine, they start their deterioration process. They can't grow no more. They start then to slowly over time start deteriorating. Now, with the tomato that was picked for commercial, they are picked early. It makes it such as if it were green. It would allow it to have that time to travel, with even using the ethylene gas to it. It would allow its time to travel to mature, well, not mature, but to ripen, and then be able to sit on your store shelf for as long as it can. But in that process, it's also losing nutrients. And I will get to nutrients in here in just a minute. But it starts losing everything. And so it will last longer at the store. Now, if we were to take it off of our vines, you will find that it won't last as long in our refrigerator like it does when we pick it, or like it does when we buy it. And that would be the process in the shipping and all that. So that would explain why ours don't last as long as the one you would get from the store. But let's also get to the flavor. When these plants for commercial are grown, the synthetic fertilizers that they use are the nutrients that the plant needs. Not so much what the vegetable needs, but for the plant. You think of mass production again. Those plants need to grow, and basically they need to grow fast. They need to yield as much as they possibly can yield. And then they will use the hybrids that will allow them for faster growth. Where us as homegrown, we can choose heirloom varieties. Now, in a versus heirloom versus a hybrid, an heirloom variety doesn't sustain in shipping and all of that as well as a hybrid. It makes sense. But in flavor balances, if you were to take a homegrown tomato and take a store-bought tomato, you are going to find that this poor little fellow right here lacks flavor. It's more of a very dull flavor. And I didn't understand that until I started growing my own. When I first started becoming a homesteader and we decided to grow our own food, I sat down one day and I told my husband on our first tomato, this tastes different. It was uncomparable. It was just more flavor to that homegrown than anything I bought from the store. And it's because we allow it to mature. And in our soil, the composting that we used or the organic material we use, it grows up into our vegetables, giving us more nutrition in our homegrown versus the store-bought. These store-bought vegetables, you would think have a lot of nutrition in them, but they don't. And nutrition goes even a step further. When we think about nutrition in homegrown versus store-bought, now we know that the lack in store-bought, and we know why, because it's grown to yield faster. So it's not there to produce more for you, or it's there to produce more for you, but not nutrition-wise. It's there for quantity, where we grow more for nutrition and quality. So, and in some cases, we do quantity, but we grow more for that. When you think about cooking, we lose nutrition in our cooking. And we'll take a broccoli, for instance. If you were to take broccoli, or generally most vegetables, steaming comes out a lot better than boiling. The way we cook our food, we lose nutrition. But if you were to think about homegrown versus store-bought, already knowing that these barely have any nutrients left them in the first place, what is left after we cook it? Basically nothing. Well, we still have trace minerals or trace vitamins still left in the food that we grow for ourselves. We are providing our bodies so much more if we grow our own vegetables and our own fruit than we can ever get from a store-bought. And that's the bottom line of it. When we grow our own, we're improving our health in so many ways. And I have learned this over time, and it made me want to grow my own because of this reason, because of the flavor that we get from it, because of the nutrition we get from it. These may have some left, but again, more generally in the raw form, and they're still traced. I have literally gone to some stores where the selections are so poor, but we don't know how long it took to get to the grocery store. Everything is basically picked early, and it has to be able to be shipped. Most of our food doesn't come locally. We grow locally. And you hear a lot of folks saying, buy locally, go to your farm stands, grow your own. There's a reason for that. We can go and get things immediately without all the shipping costs, without losing all of our nutrients and vitamins. It makes a lot of sense. I decided to go ahead and bring this up is because we hear a lot about why it's so important to grow your own. And these are the factors why, not only for the cost, and then the fact of availability. In some places, there's a lot of things being talked about, shortages or recalls from the grocery stores. We go to our backyard, there is no recall. We go to our backyard, there is no shortage. It's availability in every way that we turn around. So the only difference is growing our own takes time. Where going to the grocery store is convenient. But sometimes convenience isn't always good. I would prefer to grow my own. I would encourage everybody to grow your own. And it's not just to be able to say you need to. This is totally choice up to you. But I will say, I will challenge you, please, try it. Just one, even if it's to take a small pot, grow one vegetable, do your comparison with that same vegetable. Try a tomato. Take that tomato plant that you have grown, that you've cared for, you've weeded, you've trimmed or pruned. Take this vegetable and enjoy it. Take that store-bought, compare it, and see what you think. Folks, I'm not going to be the one to say you have to. I will be the encourager. I will give you the reasons for it. In everything that we grow, from our vegetables to our fruit to our own cooking herbs, I've even noticed even that my cooking herbs taste so much more fresher than anything I ever bought from the stores. Tea has so much more nutrients when we grow our own. I'll give you an example. I grow anise hyssop. The availability that I have for growing my own and putting more vitamins into my body, more nutrients into my body, more health benefits into my body by growing my own. It's amazing. And it's no wonder why I'm feeling better. I honestly, I have, before I became a homesteader, I was like everybody else. Everything I did was from the store. And I still didn't achieve what I'm feeling today. And it's really hard to express that. It's really, it is in some sense of a way undescribable. How my skin improved, how my hair has improved. And I never could understand that. I did a lot of research into it, and I couldn't believe what I was learning. But in some sense of it, it made sense to me. Commercially has to be done the way it's done. But is that always good? No. In my comparisons, homegrown outweighed anything I can do or get from a store. And it made sense to take that time. It made sense to grow my own. It made sense to preserve my own. And though even in my cooking process, I still lose those traces, I still have some left. But here, I have taken, and I'm going to be honest, I have taken last year, for an example, I had basically not had a good crop. So I would purchase in the bulk from a store. And commercially, I will tell you, my preserves, such as my tomato sauce, did not taste the same as my homegrown. And I could taste the difference now. I never could before I became a homesteader. And now that I do, I miss those flavors. I can honestly say I miss those flavors. I miss those vitamins. I miss those nutrients. And I am determined to make sure that my crops achieve where they need to be. I'm determined to succeed for these reasons. And this is why I am being the encourager to please. You don't have to grow big. You may choose to after you find out the same things that I do, even just in the flavor balance alone. You may choose to grow more. And I hope you do, because it will turn out to be so much better for you. Even from the soils that we use. And over time, we don't have to add as much, because the more we put to it, we can over process our soils. Synthetically, they have to do this constantly because the plants eat up so much of those nutrients. But again, it doesn't go into the fruit or vegetable. It goes into the plant. We take time to grow, and there's a reason for that. And there's a benefit to that, a big benefit. So this is the reason why I'm encouraging you. Honestly, folks, I'm not getting anything out of this. What I'm getting is hoping to educate you. I would like to see so much more improvement in all of us and in our health. And that is the only thing I gain from this. To be able to share with what I have learned, what I know, and to be able to maybe help somebody else out. When we think of health, You know, we're told a lot of things by the doctors, but we're not told the details. We're not told how to. They'll give you a basic triangle nutrition value, but they won't go into the details of which is better for us. They will tell us to fill our plates with more vegetables, but will they tell us versus homegrown and store-bought? No. You know, I've learned that since I became a homesteader, I am getting more value to my health than anything I've ever done before. Now, I'm not telling you if you continue to want to store-bought, that's absolutely fine. You still get traces left. But I will encourage you to please grow. You can get more. And it will not cost you half of what we're paying for now. You won't have those shortages. It just takes time. I'm really hoping that this will encourage you. I'm really hoping that you will take that challenge, even if it's just one time. Take that challenge. See what you think. And let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know how maybe it helped you in maybe improving your health or the way you feel, or even in just parts of your hair or your skin, anything. Let me know what it does for you. And then you look at the mind, the mind of the comfort, the mind of the ease, the savings in your pocket. That's a big one. Being able to save money. And then there's availability. Something you don't have to go far. You don't have to spend the gas to go out your back door. You walk. That's a good thing for our health. We weed. We spend outdoors in the sun. That's another good thing for your health. There is so much to gardening. There's so much to growing our own. And there's so much benefit into it. And this is the reason why I wanted to bring these videos out, to help others, to help you understand, and why you see so much of us on YouTube encouraging you doing the same. Why you see so many homesteaders. There is so much to emphasize why we homestead, and I'm hoping some of this is helping you to understand it. You know, the benefits to it all is amazing. I do not regret anything I do on this farm. Not one bit. What I would regret is if I stopped every bit of this, because I would end up back to where I was. I wasn't healthy. I'm more healthier now doing what I'm doing. Me and my husband both. And as for me and my home, we won't go back. So I am hoping this might have helped understand a little bit, and I'm hoping this will encourage you to try just a little bit of it. You don't have to have a lot, folks. You really don't. Every small thing you can do for yourself is a great improvement to you, your body, mind, physically, spiritually, mentally, everything. So I will encourage you again. I love you all very dearly. And until next time, much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead.